Why is West Deer ignoring lawful order from the Office of Open Records? Why are public records being withheld when the state has already said they must be produced and maintained? These are the questions that I'm asking myself as I go to the ballot box. Transparency is right.
That's your time.
It's the law and it belongs to the people who pay for this right.
Please sit down.
The public deserves officials who respect that.
So I'm going to ask the board not to address those comments. We won't even bring up the fact of all of the open records appeals that Mr. Brennan has lost that we've defended. So why don't we go ahead and move on to the next speaker.
You've lost one. I've only appealed one.
It's crazy. Don't get used to this, please, because it does not have to be this way. This place is crazy. They lie so much, and they've spent years of people not really paying attention, or at least not enough people paying attention, and now they are. But they can't stop themselves from the lie. Oh my goodness. And if any of you are out there saying, well, how do we know, Steve, you're not the liar? Maybe you put in all these appeals. You're just trying to harass them. You're just trying to get under their skin and make them look bad on the internet. I guess, yeah, maybe I'm the liar. But unfortunately for them, it is so easy for anyone to go prove to themselves what's happening when people request open records. Requests for open records and appeals for open records are literally open records in and of themselves. And you don't even have to ask for them. You just go online and look at them. So I'll show you how to do that in a couple minutes. So you saw the end game. Public comment at the end of the meeting is for non-agenda items only. And there were 2 speakers ahead of me. You get 3 minutes. Sometimes they give you a little more. Sometimes they don't. It kind of depends on how they feel, how long the meeting has gone before that. So you kind of never know, but you should always expect that you're going to get 3 minutes per person. The first person gets up there and he talks for 4.5 minutes. He's not interrupted. He gets his point across. It's cordial, and he turns around and he leaves. The next person gets up and she has something that she wants to talk about, and it takes a little longer, and she's up there talking to them for 10.5 minutes. It's still relatively cordial. They don't interrupt her. She finishes what she needed to say. She turns around and walks away. No problems at all. And then I get up there. I knew that I had 3 minutes. I had a feeling they wouldn't be very tolerant of me going longer than that, but I was hopeful because they are letting people go for 10.5 minutes now. And set your watches, everybody. I'm going to get 3 minutes and 2 seconds to speak, and here we go.
Good evening. Steve Brennan, Bakerstown, Cornwall Road. And tonight I want to talk about a transparency issue I'm having with West Deer Township. On February 28th, I filed a right to know request for records that belong to the public. I asked for, and I quote, any emails and text messages exchanged between West Deer Township Supervisors and the Township Manager that pertain to Township business only. And I gave 2 dates, 4 months. The Township denied this request. Now, I want to say this is not a request they made on a whim. This is a request that I made for a specific reason. But the Township denied it, claiming that it was insufficiently specific or not specific enough under Section 703 of the Right to Know law, because it didn't identify specific subject matter, transaction, or activity. I appealed, and on April 30th, the state came back and said that the Office of Open Records came back, the agency that oversees transparency disputes, and they ruled in my favor. They said my request was clear enough and ordered the township to search for and turn over the records. This order is legally binding. This state told the township in writing that these records must be located, maintained, and provided because they are public records created in the course of public business. But a few months later, when I submitted a nearly identical request covering a more recent time frame, despite that clear ruling, the township denied it again using the exact same insufficiently specific boilerplate language that they used the first time. In other words, Mr. Mater, when I put that request in to you, you ignored the law, repeated the very same argument that had already been rejected in a substantially identical request. Now, I'll give you this. That's a pretty ballsy defiance, but it flies in the face of open government and the duty to act in good faith under Section 901 of the Right to Know law. And let's be clear, these aren't your messages that I'm asking for. They're public records about public business, and they're ordered directly to you to be maintained and disclosed. In June, Supervisor Jordan told me I was costing the township in excess of $7,000 at that time to get this request taken care of. But I'm not the one choosing to fight lawful transparency rulings with taxpayer dollars. You guys are. You could have just complied with the order and followed the law, but at this point you're gaslighting the public, you're deflecting blame for your own lack of openness, and using our own money to wage lawfare against us. So I'm going to ask plainly, and this is how I'll conclude this, but why...
That's your time, Mr. Brennan.
Excuse me?
That's your time. 3 minutes.
This is my last sentence, man. Why is... And we did spend 9 minutes talking to the last speaker, just so you know. Why is West Deer ignoring lawful order from the Office of Open Records? Why are public records being withheld when the state has already said they must be produced and maintained? These are the questions that I'm asking myself as I go to the ballot box. Transparency is
Mr. Brennan, that's your time.
It's the law and it belongs to the people who pay for this
Mr.
government.
Brennan, please sit down.
The public deserves officials who respect that.
So I'm going to ask the board not to address those comments. We won't even bring up the fact of all the open records appeals that Mr. Brennan has lost that we've defended. So why don't we go ahead and move on to the next speaker?
You've lost one. I've only appealed one. What the hell?
Are there any other speakers?
Watch your language. There's children. Thank you. There's children back there. Please watch your language. Thank you.
Okay. Very easy to get distracted by the watch your language lady, but we're just going to move past it for right now. So I was able to stretch my comment to about 3 minutes 25 seconds, 3 minutes 30 seconds, and that's all she wrote. But I don't want to talk about any of that. We've talked about that before. What I want to talk about is what Gavin Robb said as we were leaving. Let's listen to that one more time.
So I'm going to ask the board not to address those comments. We won't even bring up the fact of all the open records appeals that Mr. Brennan has lost that we've defended. So why don't we go ahead and move on to the next speaker?
That was something that I'm fairly confident that as soon as he was done saying it, he regretted it. It was a lie. It was something that he wants everybody to believe, but he said it on the record. And that's problematic for him. If you couldn't catch it, he said, I'm going to ask the board not to address these comments. We won't even bring up the fact of all the open records appeals that Mr. Brennan has lost that we've defended. So why don't we move to the next speaker? So he does a couple of things here real quick, and if you blink, you'll miss them. But one is he didn't say one word to me during my entire comment like he did with the other speakers, frankly, which is fine. I didn't want him to because I had 3+ minutes of things that I wanted to at least say. But he wasn't interested in getting into a back and forth with me for whatever reason. But he did want to say something to me when I was silent. So when I finally walked away from the mic, he then went to work trying to discredit me. First, he started with a little passive aggressiveness by saying, I'm not even going to get into all of these appeals that Mr. Brennan has lost. Well, he's now bringing up things that weren't brought up before, so he absolutely does want to get into it. The problem is he's getting into something that's completely untrue and provably untrue. It's also something I think that he probably now regrets saying because he knows it's provably untrue. I'm going to show you in a second. But he also didn't anticipate me kind of yelling back at him. When he yelled out to everybody about all of these appeals I put in that I lose, he didn't know I was going to yell back. And I did. I yelled back. Hey, I've put in one appeal to you guys to this point, and you lost that appeal. The only other appeal is the one that I'm just now opening because they denied the exact same request again. But they don't want to get into that. They don't want to talk about what I actually came up there to talk about. They want to deflect. They want to say, don't listen to this guy, but hey, by the way, he puts in a lot of requests and loses all the time. Well, let's talk about that. Because a lot of people listen to my channel. Some of them agree with me. Some of them vehemently don't agree with me. And that's cool. I like that. But I'm either blatantly lying to you guys or he is blatantly lying to you guys. So I'm going to show you. All you have to do is this. Google, like you can do this right now while we're talking. Google Pennsylvania Office of Open Records. And for good measure, put docket search in there. Or when you go to their website, browse around and find their appeals docket search. Now in there, you can put in, you can search for all kinds of things. It's actually extremely interesting to go through here and look. But what I'm going to encourage you to do is just put in the agency, put West Deer. And if you want to just limit it to just my requests, put a portion of my name, which I'm going to do here. But you don't have to. There's not a ton of appeals that go up for West Deer, so you're going to see 10 years of appeals on one page. And you will see one appeal by me. So yeah, one appeal. It went through his law firm. So yeah, I know this is confusing for a lot of people with appeals and requests and people kind of mudslinging across the aisles and whatnot. I only want you to hear one thing, and that is how easily it is for them who lie to their constituents. What I've started to realize over the last couple of months is this is not just a supervisor problem. Lawyers like Gavin Robb believe that it's their job to keep West Deer Township out of a lawsuit. And I know that sounds good, right? You don't want our township being in a lawsuit. Problem is, they think their job is to protect them from us. You know what it says on Gavin Robb's paycheck? Do you know where his paycheck comes from? West Deer Township. That's us. We write that check. That's who he needs to have an allegiance to. And somewhere along the line, he forgot that. I really hope that whatever happens in the upcoming election, we need to make some changes, not just with the elected officials, but those whom they appoint. So that's basically all I wanted to bring up today, but don't trust everything you hear. Do your own research, figure it out. It's not hard. It's all there. We'll do it together, and we'll talk about it all next time. See you guys.